right, you want to do some Neville today? I'll give you some Neville. Here we are back with Manifesting Miracles. This is question 3. I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. Someone's asking, what must I do to inspire creative thoughts such as those needed for writing? This obviously does not just pertain to writers writing. This is, what must I do to inspire creative thoughts? And this is what good old Nev says. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't want this to be about being a writer. That's much less interesting than, believe me, I am a writer. Much less interesting than the underlying point that Neville's obviously making. So what must I do to inspire creative thoughts? And Neville says, what must you do? Reduce the idea to the sensation of satisfaction. Assume it's already been done. That's basically what he says. The actual line, he says, there's what must you do. Assume the story has already been written and accepted by a great publishing house. Reduce the idea of being a writer to the sensation of satisfaction. And that's what I want to focus on right now, is reduce the idea to the sensation of satisfaction. You've heard this before, probably many a time, but maybe when you hear it right now, just ring a little bit differently, which can be enough to make it resonate more deeply in your soul. Reduce the idea to the sensation of satisfaction. Think about that. Consider that. And then you're about to hear, he follows it up with this advice, which you've heard probably many a time. Repeat the phrase, isn't it wonderful? Or thank you, thank you, thank you, over and over again until you feel successful. Until you feel successful. Or you could say until you feel satisfied. Until you have the sensation of satisfaction. We were talking the other day about Neville and affirmations. This is just more confirmation that Neville obviously advocated for affirmations. He just didn't advocate for rote affirmations where there was no feeling to them. He was all about trying to generate generating that sensation of satisfaction. So a phrase like, isn't it wonderful? Or thank you, thank you, thank you. If you say that over and over again, if it resonates with you initially, chances are if you say it over and over again, you will generate a feeling and eventually be able to generate that level of satisfaction that you want. As an aside, let me say that, isn't it wonderful? That's kind of an old-fashioned saying. I see it all over the interwebs now, because Neville liked to say it, isn't it wonderful? You can probably modernize a phrase like that pretty easily. Or say something like, thank God, or oh, it's perfect, or finally, or 100 different variations of such a phrase. Isn't it wonderful? It's not the most natural thing that most of us would say. It's like if we want to be kind of like an old Caribbean Yankee, isn't it wonderful? Make more sense to say it that way. Neville continues on. He says, or imagine a friend congratulating you. There are unnumbered ways of implying success or of implying satisfaction, of getting to that sensation of satisfaction, right? But Neville says there are unnumbered ways of implying success, but always go to the end. Always go to the end. Your acceptance of the end wills its fulfillment. So by generating that sensation of satisfaction, the sensation puts you at the end. It's over. It's done. Thank you. Thank you. It's over. It worked. It's done. relief, that release that we were talking about the other day. So important. Your acceptance of that, your acceptance of the end, mentally, imaginatively, with your mind and body, wills that end into its actual external fulfillment, at least in some shape or form. Neville says specifically here in regards to like writing, but this again goes for anything, not just writing, obviously. He says, do not think about getting in the mood to write, but live and act as though you are now the author you desire to be. Live and act as though you already are what you want to be. Again, this is really great, great advice. It's advice that's been so overplayed and kind of made cliche by the law of assumption community that I now question how good advice it is in these modern times, unless you really understand it, unless it really resonates with you. It's been turned around, so it's often hurtful when people just say, assume the state, assume the state. But it is great, great, great advice. And, it's justifiably one of the main reasons that Neville is so famous today. Live and act as though you are now what you desire to be. You'll then produce consistently sensations of satisfaction, of fulfillment, and your acceptance of this end will will it into its actual external fulfillment. Neville also says, think of the pattern you want displayed on the outside. Think about how you'd want your, desire to manifest externally, what you would want that to look like. Not how it will manifest, but what it would look like when it already is manifest, which it is, which you already feel as real. You feel that sensation of fulfillment. So what would that look like for you? In regards to the writing example, he says, if you write a book and no one is willing to buy it, there's no satisfaction. Act as though people are hungry for your work. In other words, externally, act as if people are excited for your accomplishment, for your desire having been fulfilled. That everything is going the way you want it to go. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? He says, live as though you cannot produce stories or books fast enough to meet the demand. I mean, that's a very subjective thing for this example, but the important thing is this last line is another very important point. He says, persist in this assumption, and all that is necessary to achieve your goal will quickly burst into bloom, and you will express it. Persist in your assumption. Reduce the idea to the sensation of satisfaction. And if you are able to do that and feel that sensation of satisfaction and feel as if it is already done, which it is done, inwardly, imaginatively, it is already done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Father, for it's already done. If you're able to maintain that, then external signs will show up in all likelihood sooner than later. This is classic Neville advice that has been, in my opinion, so overplayed and made cliche the last couple of years on places like YouTube, that it can be hard for it to actually resonate for you in the way that works for you. And again, it's just one method, one approach. Law of assumption, people don't want me to say this, but it's just the darn truth. But it is a very powerful one. And as I said, it's one reason that Neville is justifiably so highly regarded these days in the manifesting community. Any questions, let me know. I'm here to help if you have a genuine question. RadicalCounselor.com. Have a great day.